this is a near perfect pilot for a show. And I don't know, like, other pilots that are like that hold up as well as this does, because it hits everything that it needs to hit.
We got Jack waking up in the bamboo forest. That's all we know right now is eyeball bamboo forest. Yeah, okay, we might have seen some commercials about the show. It's like, oh, the show's about a plane crash. So, but, we're assuming that there's a plane crash. We hear sounds in the background, but he's laying down and he sees the dog out of nowhere. The first thing that he sees is the Labrador. And we're off into the jungle, we'll say.
It's funny to like just to see the dog and remember in my head, like, being someone who watched it in real time, because even when it first aired, it took a while for the online community to catch up. So that was like, by the time I started watching the DVDs, the DVDs is really what brought the online community up. And to watch and just remember how people react, like the thoughts on everything at the time, and how outlandish some of them actually were. Like, and you knew they weren't going to play out to be real, but like just the thought that people had. That's humorous to me.
Something I want to talk about later is like, what's the craziest theory that you ever had about the show that turned out to not be true?
Oh my God.
Because there's probably so many that we all got.
Yeah, so the dog is, he basically wakes up and the first thing that he sees is the dog. He comes to realize that, obviously the plane had crashed or whatever. And then all of a sudden he pulls a bottle of vodka out of his pocket. I'm assuming if you wake up dazed in the jungle, you're not really quite sure that you had a plane crash. Maybe it was the bottle of vodka that he grabbed.
That like reminded him.
Yeah, definitely.
And we don't know how long he was unconscious for either.
Yeah.
No.
So that's another thing they'll get into later. But
even at this point, we don't even know really about the plane.
No, we don't. We don't know anything besides, and that's why it's such a beautiful sequence, is because you just they give you the little pieces so well of, Jack running through the jungle, and then you get like it's the beach. It's so calm. It's so calm. It's so calm. Oh my God, there's a plane crash. People are screaming. There's wreckage everywhere. There's dead people. Like, it immediately hits you with like, all right, we're in, it hooks you right away. They don't try to like immediately tell you who Jack is or things like that. And that's something that I really enjoy. They're just like, okay, this is where we would go.
I also, people know that psychologically, like, it all makes sense. Like, people would be like, couldn't he hear the noise as he was running to the beach? Couldn't he, like, the trauma he probably just went through? No. And and he could have probably heard it, but he wasn't able to process what he was hearing until he saw it. And like, there's common, like,
this episode,
psychological reasons why that happens.
This episode is so good. I'm going to use the same word that you did. It's so good at, before it adds any of the other stuff, any of the island stuff, the trauma of a plane crash. This show is so good at whether they
crash a couple million bucks just on the plane.
Yeah. Whether they crashed on a magic island or they crashed in the random middle of Iowa in the United States, they do such a, I've never been in a plane crash myself, but this is something that I assume that would look like,
They did a really good job, to be honest. I think they got a real plane. They literally stuck it on the island in Hawaii.
But like, it wasn't just that though. It was the sounds. It was what you were seeing. Like, this scene, it almost felt like you hear people talk about this all the time when they're talking about movies or television shows. You didn't feel like you were watching this scene. You felt like you were observing from within the scene.
You're in it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't focus, like Jack's like the guy that's Jack's like the guy that's taking us through the scene. He's not, the scene is not focused on him. The scene is focused on us, of like, who's that guy? Who's she? What's going on here? Like, there's just so much.
That's what you'd be doing.
And because at the end of the day, this show is all about asking the audience questions and having the audience attempt to figure those questions out. Something that I had actually forgotten about until I watched last night is that I did not remember that the first time we see Locke is in this opening scene. He's helping Jack lift the plane off of the guy's leg. And I had forgotten about that. I had always had in my head the thing that Cody was talking about earlier, the orange scene. I was always thinking that was Locke's first scene, but it's not.
See, I think that's because it's an iconic
No,
scene.
you're right.
But like,
Yeah,
But Locke's kind of background here, like you don't know who this guy is yet.
not until
And the other part of it is that the third guy that helps him is probably never seen again. So
yeah, but we understand there's a reason
yeah,
why he's there in the scene, like, and in the scene the way that he is.
yes,
Like when you remember watching that scene, how traumatized does he look?
not at all. And we get into this later where I don't mind jumping ahead a little bit, but again, it's like
And why doesn't he look traumatized?
the rain later when Locke is sitting on the beach and he's got his legs crossed and everything, and it starts raining, and all of these traumatized people that have just been through this plane crash start running, and they're scared and everything, and he's sitting there smiling, arms to the heavens, lets it rain on him. Like, it does such a good job of, in this pilot, telling us like this guy's important and raising the questions of like, why is this guy acting this way? The pilot does an excellent job of setting these characters up for who they are going to be for the next 6 seasons. And that's probably, I think, the best thing that this show does.
they absolutely stay in character pretty much for the remainder of the show. Short of Sawyer's haircut is a little bit different.
There's a couple things that are different.
There's a couple little.
Well, there's a time. I think there's a filming difference in time.
There is,
There's
but there's a couple things that are different, and
Oh, that's a big one.
Sawyer's hair. That's one of my notes. Yes, it's longer, right? He puts on a little bit of weight in between. I think he gets like bigger physically, like muscle wise. Something I was gonna say is how the characters do change from the pilot right to episode 3. Sawyer is one of those characters, and like I was saying, and you brought it up perfectly, that his theory of Saeed crashed the plane. Well, he's just looking for somebody to blame, and I think it's kind of just shows you where, again, the show was at and where the world, well, I guess maybe more so the country was at the time, is like, well, I guess maybe it does make sense that this redneck hick would blame the Iraqi guy because he sees someone with brown skin and is like, must have been him, you know? But
Can't leave out the scene where Jack asks Kate to stitch him up. She's a little freaked out.
this sets up something that is going to be a common thread.
but I can't remember if something happened. yet or not.
She basically, he talks to her about the scene, or he talks to her about where he's doing a medical procedure, and
You've got a great point.
it cuts open during the medical procedure, and all of her insides spill out like spaghetti.
Yes.
And so she has to count to 5.
Let the fear in.
Yeah, to let the fear in, and then he gets over the fear.
And that becomes
Which is
one of,
great to live by for real.
that becomes
by the
one
way.
of Kate's things in the show. So if we're going to talk about this scene, this is the time where I have to say this, and I'm going to look in the camera to say this. I am not a Jack Shephard fan. So there's going to be some things that I bring up. There's a very popular Reddit post, the 10 worst things Jack Shephard ever did. Do you want to know who wrote that? You're looking at the guy right here. Something I want to bring up about this scene. He asked this woman, who's very clearly been through trauma, to sew him up. Sure, you need someone to sew you up. But he can see that she's kind of grossed out by what she's doing. So what does he do? He does what Cody just brought up. He tells her a gross story about about himself messing up during a surgery and this woman's veins popping out of her like angel hair pasta. Is that what you would want to hear if you were scared, traumatized, and sewing somebody up? Because I don't think so.
That wouldn't bother me. You're just sewing up a thing, and you're just upset that he says angel hair pasta, chef.
It's true. Angel hair pasta is not the best.
Yeah.
But
I can't remember. Are those really his tattoos, or were those put on?
No, those were put on for the show. Spoilers.
another thing that gets set up here as we're watching it happen, that just continues throughout the whole show, is there's just immediate sexual tension between Jack and Kate. And I think, and the show very clearly wants you to know that. And they set that up hard throughout the pilot and the next episode.
Yeah, but there's a reason.
Of course, yeah.
Like There's a huge reason.
Kate immediately goes into codependency mode with Jack.
Yeah. Like
With Jack
Yeah.
immediately, not anybody else.
Nope, just with Jack.
Jarvis is in on Jack, and it's immediate codependency.
And not only that, but with the other characters, she steps up as a leader with Saeed, with Charlie, with Shannon, with
She
Sawyer,
does,
everybody.
to a degree.
But
yeah.
not with Jack. Jack's
Not
the
with
only
Jack.
one that she's just like,
Jack Alpha's that dog.
Jack Alpha's that dog.
And,
And-
but there's a reason she like that's great. She's not as innocent as we want to think
No.
she is.
And
we can
So
talk about
she's
that.
There's a lot-
manipulating.
and
We're getting to that point.
there's a lot of little parts of this that show you that she's not as innocent as she seems. The character, I mean, it's almost like I said earlier, how like Jack is taking us through the show, right? And so us as the audience, I mean, we're all guys here. We're kind of meant to fall in love with Kate, and like I won't lie to you, everybody, I fell in love with Kate right off the bat. She's hot. She's got this kind of like mystery to her. She's very much like
Especially in the gratuitous naked Kate scene.
I was
She's
just gonna
in
put
her
that in,
underwear,
yeah.
which is definitely in my notes as well.
I mean, why wouldn't it be?
And what is it? What is it that you fell in love with again? I'm sorry.
About Kate?
I was looking at her.
She's
Well,
innocent. She's sweet. She's got a nice
Just,
bod.
I mean, obviously
She's the
attraction
girl
is
next
subjective.
door.
She's the girl next door, but she's cool.
She's
because
cool.
she can go on these hikes, and she can,
Yeah, she's
you know,
tough, you know?
she's a badass too, and like, so we're immediately, and so is Jack, because Jack is transfixed by all the same things that we are.
Did you say innocent as well?
Yes. And one of the things that we were
Well,
talking
you would have
about-
been a youngster the first time you watched.
I would have been. This
How
would have
old?
been
How old were you?
probably 10, 11.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
right in
yeah,
that.
I'm like 20 something, 23. You're like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it at a different perspective.
Yeah, I was in my 30s.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so what I was just gonna say, going
Well,
back.
no, you had a lot, even in this perspective, you had a lot of the same.
Exactly. But Jack feels those same things too. And what I was just gonna say, going back, and this should probably be put into the spoiler version, is I brought this up to you earlier. There's a little intricacy in when she's sewing Jack up. They're just making small talk, and after Jack tells the hospital story, Kate says, "If that happened to me, I'd probably just run away." And Jack looks at her and goes, "Well, you're not running now." And Kate immediately, you can just see that little bit of like tense, you know,
Of like what intense in what way?
like she tenses up when he says, "You're not running now."
And why do you think she's tensing?
Well, we know now,
Yeah.
because she is running. And-
So yeah, because she is running, but also there's a couple other points in there, like when she's asking them, he tells the story, blah blah blah. During that whole thing, everything that he's saying when he's describing the angel hair pasta and everything, like you're like, oh, that's a dick move and blah blah blah, right?
that's because I don't like Jack.
Right. But knowing what she did,
That's a good point.
like that's a story she can take.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely true. I had not considered that before you just said that. Like, I mean, we know what Kate is capable of, and I think that although I think that a story about a gross story about angel hair
I get what
pasta,
you're.
I just
I do
yeah,
get what
you're
you're
right
saying.
though. That's a good
I do get
point.
what
You
you're
got me
saying.
there. It's a good point. Another thing, Jack's just being all cute. He has to build an airplane out of plants. And then I had this in the running for one of my lines of the episode right here. So this is an indicator for me of where this show goes. It immediately sets itself up as a self-aware show, because there's a line where Jack just gets so sassy with Boone right off the bat, where Boone says, like, Jack tells him that he's doing the CPR wrong, and Boone goes, "Are you sure? I'm a certified lifeguard." And Jack just goes, "You might want to think about giving that license back."
Yeah.
And immediately, I think that sets up where the show goes, because it's so sassy and self-aware, and I don't think that that's the right thing to say in a plane crash moment, but it just shows you where the show goes, and I like it's something I liked.
Yeah, Jack saying.
What is the
let me-
right thing to
Jack
say?
saying, I'm going to take the lead from here with that one.
Yeah,
Basically.
absolutely.
As Jack is, yes, our hero. You know, he's not necessarily the perfect hero, as we learn as the story goes on.
There's no such thing as the perfect hero.
There's not,
That's
but
like the whole
there
hero
is-
journey
there is such a
story.
thing.
He
He's a
does
douchebag.
rise to the occasion on many times.
I'm gonna get you some Jack merchandise.
We were just talking about that scene with Jack and Kate where you're not running now. They and that's like kind of our first clue into Kate of what Kate ends up becoming, right?
Yeah.
I think our first clue into Charlie is and it's not exactly a hit you over the head with it clue, but because he's Jack and of course he wants to go on an adventure right away. It's like, let's go find the cockpit, right? And so
Maybe he has ADHD.
maybe he does. And so they mentioned to the group, we're gonna go find the cockpit. And you immediately see Charlie's face goes like something like that, like, and it's kind of like, okay, like there's a reason why he wants to go to the cockpit. Why does he want to go to the cockpit? And so again, by the end of this episode, we know. But that's like our first indicator. Something else, because it's on the screen right now. I was gonna bring up about Rose, who I think I would safe to say Rose and Bernard are some of the most beloved characters in the show. There's some of like they
Absolutely.
like did no wrong.
There was a theory that goes on later that people thought they were there already,
Okay.
and there were the bodies that were.
I
found
always
in the
say if
field.
there's a lost reboot that they could.
That was a
theory.
theory.
Never heard that one.
Yeah. I also love the fact that at the beginning of this scene is where you see Jack put the vodka in his pocket.
Yep.
And at that point, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those kind of shows.
Like
Yeah, like you have to watch every little detail.
they do such an excellent job of doing the action.
But it got overput. So even this scene, though, right here, this picture, after the first season, people were like, how many scratches are on his face? Counting the scratches, seeing if that matched up to anything in history of like the Greek history or Christian history, or just people, even scars became an issue
Oh yeah.
in blog posts. Like that's how crazy
all
it got.
the
Yeah.
books in the show
Ugh.
were analyzed, and there was a cult.
I was a part of that cult.
So
Part of that.
what I was gonna say about Rose and Bernard, just going back to that real quick. I know we're not supposed to know his name is Bernard yet, but something again the show does such a good job of is asking questions, but they do answer some of these questions, but they kind of allow the audience to figure the question out for themselves. Like for example, the very first scene we see of Rose after she's resuscitated from the CPR, she's crying and she kisses something. So she clearly, it's like, I think we can all assume, okay, maybe she lost somebody, right? And then in the scene, the flashback scene, the first flashback scene, she says, my husband's in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And so right there, you kind of immediately go, her husband didn't come back from the bathroom.
I know,
and that's
scene-
why she's crying.
We know what scene's coming now, though.
Oh, I've never seen.
But the iconic scene right
One
here.
of the more iconic scenes. And I had forgotten that I thought this was the first time we saw Locke.
And then look what she's doing here. What's she doing here?
Just taking his shoes off.
Off of who?
A
the dead guy.
body
Huh.
to use.
Sound like
for-
somebody that'd be squirmish about making
That's what
pasta.
I'm saying. Yeah, she's
Get
like,
out of here.
she's like
Caden.
very like, I'm just gonna take these.
Well, she's
two.
clearly not happy to be
Nice
doing.
be here.
Locke with the orange in the mouth. Of
What a scene.
It's
That
such
is
a
such a
good
picture.
It's so good.
yeah, that's
So people were like, why is that eye that's cut out?
Uh-huh.
Why is it an orange in his mouth? Like, you don't understand like how
Very
deep it
Anakin.
got.
But it's the
Skywalker.
first, like, who is this guy? Why is he smiling in the face of this? The scene that we're on right now that I'm looking at, something I just quickly made note of. I wanted to just know how you guys felt about this because it was something that stuck out to me. The first completely normal, friendly conversation in the whole show is between Charlie and Kate. It's about Drive Shaft,
and this is the first time you hear Charlie's name.
It is. And even in the scenes where there's like kind of like the sewing scene with Jack and Kate, there's a little bit of like playful banter, but it's not like a normal conversation like we're having. This conversation between the two of them is like they're locked in that conversation. It's got nothing to do with getting to the cockpit. It's got nothing to do with where are we or like are you okay? It's literally just like, oh, you know, your Drive Shaft. Oh, my friend Beth loves you.
And to
you
Caden's
know?
point, Jack gets pissed.
Yeah.
And makes it about himself again.
Of course he does. Because even after
that too.
Yep.
Of course he does. I'm not even joking. I put that in my notes.
Like it's like, come on, Jack. You could walk and fucking talk at the same time. dude.
Because for all he knows, they could get off this island today and he's never gonna see this chick again. But damn it, she's his. Well, they're on this island.
know-
And
to that point of where she's talking to him about Drive Shaft, she gets really like schoolgirly, like very giddy, like almost off island.
Fangirl. She gets very fangirl.
It's almost
cute.
like it's cute. It's
yeah.
like a meet cute, but almost like an off island moment. Like it actually like kind of pulls
Like
you.
as if she just saw him in public.
Yeah. Yeah, you could argue it's one of your first, besides the flashbacks, it's one of your first human moments.
That's what I had, was the first normal human conversation. And again, it does two things for me. It continues to set up Kate as subverting the expectations, but it also continues Charlie, because I brought that point up at the cockpit earlier, but as soon as you hear he's a rock star, that kind of continues to be like, oh, and again,
It starts connections too.
Stereotypes of
And
rock
then,
stars.
what are you doing in the bathroom?
What are you doing in the bathroom? Exactly.
And it also starts
Continues those
connections though.
stereotypes.
It, like for the show.
Charlie's also so good. What's
Do you
his name?
remember? I remember at Solar Band we had at one point. We used to play in the middle of songs. We would play "You All Everybody."
Really?
You
Yeah.
are everybody. I think
Peterson?
that Charlie also immediately, like, for the first time, kind of feels secure when he's talking to Kate, because, like, you know, he kind of uses his celebrity, I suppose, to kind of mask his internal pain and whatnot. And so that's kind of what this is. He also immediately says, you know, we're still together. Like, we're still gonna get back together, you know, because this is what he knows. Yeah, so there's Vincent again.
So yeah, like again, this scene here at the time on the internet was people were like, "Oh, that dog is part of something." Like,
No.
There was theories already.
Yeah, there was
even right?
immediately like, yeah, it was crazy.
Which blows all that hoopla.
The cameras in its eyes.
blowing
There's
my
this,
mind.
there's
Like
that.
I said, to juxtapose what I talked about, how I refused to watch the show until season 4. Like I would hear a lot of hoopla from people that were doing that, and I was like, man, they're crazy. Probably even George, you know, one of them online, you know, like what is going on with this show? And there was at some point where I saw the hype and I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump on and see what happens. And
I know what happens by the end of it. You and I were sending each other our ABC commercials that we were sending into abc.com
Yeah.
to try to win.
you did win the
That's awesome.
because there was a contest actually when the show was going on to make a commercial for
both
the show.
in
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I have my next thing I wanted to say, because we're about to get into the rain scene, and I can't wait for that in a second.
Is there? You guys see Tyler saying? I can't remember. Was there music in the first 2 episodes? Like as far as
Michael
Song?
Giacchino.
songs? No, not the score.
I don't think so.
Okay, because like those
No.
become like those songs in some of the
There
episodes
is certain
become
things that are.
hugely important.
There are
Like,
certain things
I
that I
have-
noticed that are hugely
I have
different.
playlists on my phone that are like it's the Lost playlist, and it's all the songs that were in Lost.
Sure. I think Lost might be the first episodic television show that I ever really watched, because obviously when you're a kid,
It was one of my last.
yeah, when you're a kid, you're watching I'm watching SpongeBob, you know what I mean? And so in terms of episodic fiction, besides Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, the first one I got into was Lost. And the other show that I obsessed over at that time in my life was the show Psych on the USA Network.
Kidding me?
Really? Oh my God, we're such good friends.
Oh my God!
We're best friends.
I just made one of my friends watch that entire show, and like we send shit back and forth.
no.
That is one of my favorite shows.
You want to guess why I got into Psych? So, because there was someone that did a guest spot in the show that was a very big impact on me as a child.
John Cena.
So, I watched the DVD, the 3-disc set, the John Cena Experience, and there's our next podcast.
I feel like I remember that.
So the rain sequence is so good. If we're getting back into it, and here's the thing, like, I don't know how you guys are with other media that you consume, but I'm kind of known as like a harsh critic of things, right? And so it's really hard for me to give a genuinely great rating to something. We'll get there at the end of this thing. This is a near perfect pilot for a show. And I don't know, like, other pilots that are like that hold up as well as this does, because it hits everything that it needs to hit. And this rain sequence, just immediately getting you to ask, why did it just start torrential downpouring out of nowhere? Charlie even says, guys, is this normal? And you get that scene of Locke on the beach where everybody else is running and he just raises his arms to the heavens and smiles. And you're just like, okay, what is this guy's deal? You know? And it's so good.
No, we're getting to the cockpit of the plane, and basically, you know, we climb up the plane here, and you're basically gonna get to the point where you get to the fuselage of the plane, and all of a sudden Charlie disappears.
Yes.
We're not really quite sure. We're paying attention,
But we do know that he wanted to go to the cockpit.
we're paying it. Yeah, exactly. But we're paying attention to Jack because he's the leader, of course. So we're following Jack's lead to the cockpit, and all of a sudden we come upon the pilot who is still alive.
One of the things I actually have here is the look on, like, Charlie looks like a completely different human being when they make visual contact with the cockpit.
Because, and it's
He physically looks different.
Oh, he's got this look. He's got the Stanley Kubrick stare.
Yeah.
but I mean, and such a good job at showing the signs of addiction without actually saying it. And as George so brilliantly brought up, he's a different person when he sees the cockpit, because it's almost like he's safe.
Yeah, because he's gonna find that thing that he was looking for. But yeah, they climb past all the dead bodies, which is pretty gruesome.
Yeah, and it kind of illustrates, I guess that's another good illustration of Kate, of her character. She's not bothered by all of the dead people around her, or at least not as bothered as you'd think she would be.
You know, and you could argue that, like, she's so involved in the trauma of the crash itself that, like,
And
here's the thing you're going to
But
find
Charlie's
out about
got
me
that
is I'll
1,000
say
mile
things,
stare.
and then I'll find ways to go against what
look
I
at
say.
how determined Charlie is to get to where he needs to get.
Yeah. It's like me looking for coffee in the morning.
And it kind of also, like, I mean, this would be my go back to Jack's the douche thing. I mean, he clearly does not care about Charlie in this scene.
And the dead body comes flying out the door.
This is such a show that it's the production of the show, which means the sound, the
No,
noises.
the sounds are what makes. We haven't even talked
here's
about
the
the
thing.
sound
I want
in the
to.
jungle yet.
So this is how, like, I was so involved in the show that after I watched it 2 or 3 times, I would then put Hulu on my phone and run it through the speakers of the car, and take my phone and turn it down so I couldn't see it,
And just listen.
and just listen and drive,
Yeah.
hoping to pick up on verbal things that I wouldn't have because I was too busy looking for visual clues or.
Well, that brings up a good point. Like, real quick, to side jump.
There is something wrong with me.
I used to like, I've watched the show 5 or 6 times all the way through. Now, in those watch throughs, every single time you either got to go to the bathroom sometimes, and every once in a while you forget to hit pause or whatever, so you miss stuff. And
Pause that.
I definitely missed things every single time that I watched it because I saw them other times that I watched.
It's like what I said to you, and I can't remember. I feel like Lost did something that television doesn't normally do, and I'm going to have to pay more attention on the rewatch, is that if you watch, like, Law and Order or something like that, and then a detective goes into a room and they open a drawer and there's a gun in there, they always say, there's a gun in here.
They don't do that in Lost.
Right, and that's a television trick, and it's because of what Cody was just talking about, the fact that they know people have lives and they're distracted at times. So they'll do that on television shows because they know somebody might be grabbing a drink out of the... So they'll say what they're seeing as well. And Lost didn't really do that as much, if I remember correctly. It was almost... It forced you to pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was crazy.
And it created...
And you weren't mad at it. That's what was even crazier.
It created a group of people that watched it intensely and, like, would get mad if you weren't paying attention. Like, I've watched it a few times with people that weren't paying attention, and I just remember being like, you gotta watch it. You're missing all the details. Good job, guys.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
We could have gone for a friggin' 3 hours too.
And I ended it. Hopefully it all worked. Says the camera guy.